welcome to the Frost Fatale bonus stream. I'm Skybills, and it is awesome to be here with Mads, Trash Lappers, and Arcolina for some Hades. Few announcements here on behalf of GameStone Quick. GameStone Quick is returning to PAX East 2023 on March 23rd through 26th. Stay tuned for the schedule to be released this upcoming week. Frost Fatale 2023 just wrapped up. We raised over $150,000 for Malala Fund. Go to GameStoneQuick.com/FrameFatale for more information. And with that being said, how are y'all doing? Welcome.
I'm doing good. It was a hectic week of fatales, and it was awesome. I'm glad to bring some more. Should we get rolling?
Sure.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Mads Brutal. Mads is fine. I have two commentators with me. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Hi, everyone. I'm Marcolina.
And I'm Trash Lappers.
And we're going to be playing some Hades on the precipice of Hades 2. Any day, Hades 2 could be coming out. We're still playing some Hades 1. And we've been playing this game for a long time, many, many hours. And I thought that we might try to make it a little more interesting for us. So what I have here is, boop, this fun little wheel. And you'll notice on this wheel we have all of the aspects with a small asterisk. There's a couple that aren't there if you're eagle-eyed. And we're going to be doing a 3-weapons run. 3-weapons run is we play through the game 3 times, 3 different weapons. And normally when you see 3-weapons runs, you'll probably see Beowulf Shield, Hera Bow, Eris Rail, or Hestia, maybe Achilles Spear thrown in. There's a handful of aspects that are clearly the strongest, but we have strategies on all of them. We keep times on all of these. So I was just going to randomize the aspects I get and roll the wheel. And Arcolina and Lapras will be the arbiter of if it's spicy enough, if it's interesting enough that 3 weapons line up. So we might have to roll again. So I am going to do our first roll. Here we go. Hera, okay.
All right.
Pretty mild.
That's our one meta aspect.
Nem, that's borderline spicy.
It's not showcased as much, so
Yeah,
That's
maybe.
true.
still fine.
Oh, Rama. So I assume
That's the
so.
second bow.
That's our second bow, so we have to pick one of those bows. I assume Rama will be the one.
What's the
Spin-
4th thing?
I'll spin again. Arthur,
That's
so that's
another
2 swords.
Okay.
So
Okay.
real quick, these we're getting duplicates on these aspects. We have to have 3 different weapons, so we've rolled 2 bows and 2 swords. And I'm gonna try to just get a 3rd weapon here. Damn. Okay, so we have either Hera or Rama, and Nem or Arthur. What do you two want?
I think
From those.
Nemdem and Rama.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Nem,
different.
Dem, Rama.
It's
Okay, cool. Let's do it.
like meta 2.
Yeah. We won't subject you to playing Arthur.
I've put some decent practice in it, Arthur. That doesn't mean I got good times with it, but I practiced a bunch. Okay, cool. Let me then get this set up. So let's start with... We'll start with Rama. Demeter Fists, and what was it? Nemesis, that's right.
Transform.
Yeah. We'll start on Rama. We got Zeus. Okay, cool. So let's jump into it. We'll start the timer just when I hit begin escape, just for simplicity. So we'll be starting in 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
No turning back.
So tell us about Rama. What's its deal?
So Rama is one of the hidden aspects. It's a hidden aspect of the bow. And the hidden aspects kind of change things more than the other ones. You know, bow, shooty, has a special that kind of goes in a way to arc. But on Rama, what its deal is that it has a much bigger and stronger primary attack. And then the special is these little bolts that go out and they'll tag enemies, and you can do extra damage to them with your attack if they're hit by the special.
Yeah.
And we usually start on Zeus for Rama with special because you see it shoots out 3 little projectiles. So the Zeus lightning bolt is nice damage for that. It can kill a lot of small things like that pot. Just with the special alone, you don't have to worry about attacking everything all the time.
And unlike the bow, you really don't want to be like mini shooting with the primary attack because it's very slow and it does not do much damage unless you get the power shot.
Mm-hmm.
I can take it.
But it does have that big strong attack, so we are going to be looking for some good attack damage here out of Chaos.
Hate to be ungrateful.
See if we get anything.
Whatever, I'm just gonna take what doesn't hurt me. I don't want to put too many rolls in there because there's a lot of things I still want for my build. Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
So here we have our first NPC or story room. So in Hades, every region or biome, we're currently in Tartarus, has a set number of rooms we have to complete. And the NPC or story rooms are just free rooms. So we don't have to fight any enemies. We just go in, talk to the character, and leave. Tartarus has 12 and then the mini boss. So just removing a chamber we have to play is always what we want to see in speedrunning.
Yeah, and along the same line, the mid shop that we're in right now, that we're about to leave, is one of those rooms where you don't have to fight any enemies. And it shows up most of the time, but every now and then you'll miss it. We're always glad when we don't. And then the Chaos room that we were in earlier, where you take a curse to hopefully get a boon later that helps, is another room where even if you don't get something good, you don't have to fight any enemies. So we consider it a skip.
Yes.
Now we're in our first mini boss. This is the Doomstone, and it's another encounter that it's not a total skip, but it is usually a good encounter. You kind of just run in, use your summon, call Meg, and it ends up a lot quicker than most of these rooms with waves of enemies.
Speaking of waves of enemies, every enemy in the game has a specific point or difficulty value, and as you go further into the biome, you have to kill more enemies to get through the room. And witches are some of the lowest. Thankfully, they're at least armored, which raises their point value. But
Oh, and now we're picking up our hammer, which is Twin Shot. What Twin Shot does is basically what it says. When you shoot, you have 2 shots instead of 1. They just have a little shorter range. But it is double damage as long as you're not shooting from far away. So it's just the straight upgrade.
and if you've played the base game, you might have noticed that hammer looked a little different. The mod pack allows us to select our first hammer for very nice. Helps aspects that really want a specific hammer to get what they need to basically function.
Yeah.
Now we're on to our first boss of the game. This is Megara, the Furies fight. And if you'll notice, we're also on... her other Fury sisters are showing up, which means we're on extreme measures. That's the heat option. It makes the game more difficult, but we run it because it makes one of the fights faster too.
Technically makes this fight a little slower, but it's worth it.
Yeah, makes up for it later. Here we go. Ooh,
First
I got
biome down.
Yeah, I got Artemis there in the end shop. She didn't offer me the dash, and that's what I want from her. So I'm gonna just force her into Asphodel. Try to get that. And
Yeah,
did
you'll
we...
notice.
Oh, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I was gonna
I was
say,
gonna
did we
say-
explain the shared suffering?
I didn't name the mechanic, but we did. The shared
Okay,
suffering
cool.
is when you hit them with the special and they take, I
Okay,
think,
cool.
30% more damage from an attack.
That
Yeah.
So you can tag the same enemy and then hit that enemy with your primary attack, and they'll take an extra 30%.
Maybe it's more than 30. I don't remember the exact number, but it's good. You really want to be tagging every enemy that you're going to shoot, unless you know you can one-shot them. which probably isn't going to happen much more now that we're out of target.
So now we're in Asphodel, which, if you're familiar with Greek mythology, is actually supposed to be a meadow, but for whatever reason, it's flooded with lava in this game.
Sorry. Plot.
There's plot to this game? I had no idea. looking for rush delivery.
What else?
We'd really love it.
Oh, no.
Godspeed.
Rush delivery is one of those things that just makes every run better. You only get naturally 2 Hermes boons per run. So you're really looking for hyper sprint for the first one and rush delivery for the second one, which turns all of your movement speed into a percentage of damage. And that'll be global damage and just affect everything.
There we go. We're just gonna use our special here.
All right.
Oh, we didn't get the Ardia Dash we were originally looking for, but we did get Lightning Rod, which is a really strong duo boon. One of Rama's weaknesses is that it doesn't have a lot of what's the word for it?
AoE, not AoE.
It doesn't deal with groups as well sometimes. So having Rod around to just hit enemies
Oh my god.
on its own passively is really nice.
Coverage.
Coverage. Yeah.
Power of the gods.
Oh, your choice of Chamber 22 skip, which is the last chamber of Asphodel. So here we have Eurydice, who gives us 3 options. Matt's picked the Nectar option, so for her next 3 boons, those boons will have upgraded rarity.
Yeah, and if you noticed, the room opposite of Eurydice had a swirl on it. That's another mod pack thing that indicates when there's a fountain.
You seem quite upset.
Those fountains are, again, free rooms. They're just one of those things that you'll never want to skip. And now we're in the second boss of the game, the Lernian Hydra, aka Lerny. And this is where we use the extreme measures for, because normally Lerny's arena is just kind of this big slab where you have to run across a lot of space to kill the smaller heads that are spawning. But here on this one, they all spawn much closer together, and it is more dangerous. You'll often see people dying in Lerny, what we like to call the Lerny tax. But even with all of that, just having them closer together is usually just faster.
This is painful. I have no damage.
Yeah, we're really hoping for some kind of attack boon. Artemis Dash, which we didn't see, gives you between 50 and 70% dash strike damage, and if you'll notice, we're always dashing before our attacks, so it basically just always applies to Rama attack as well, but we didn't grab that, or an attack boon, or get anything out of Chaos,
Yeah.
So we're a
I'm
little
gonna go-
suffering on damage.
I think I'm gonna go Afro to just try to get a strong attack. Normally, I think I'd probably be looking to go, honestly, just the Acorn. I think the Acorn's really useful, just to get attacks off in the boss fights.
Yeah, Acorn is great, but it's not going to do anything for the damage, really.
Yeah.
Something that might do something for the damage is we're coming up on a second hammer here.
Two.
On this mod pack, our second hammer is still random. So we're hoping to see something like Perfect Shot or Point Blank Shot to give us some extra damage. Let's see if we get it.
Do work, little rod.
We got Change Shot.
That's
which-
something.
It
does something. It's honestly not that bad in rooms, where what Chain Shot does is, instead of just making your attack go straight and piercing enemies so that you can hit multiple if they're lined up, Chain Shot will hit one enemy, and then if another enemy is close by, it'll automatically go to that one, up to, I think, 3
3, yeah.
times.
Piercing
And each time it'll do 15% more. So it can do more damage, but...
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's what we were looking for
Chaos.
Aphrodite is basically the biggest attack boon you can get, and we got the best rarity, so that's really, really nice.
That's
You want to tell us a little about Elysium?
So Elysium is where runs go to die if they haven't died already. There's a lot of these exalted, these little skeleton fellas that you have to kill twice. And they're also not worth a lot, so if sometimes you get these unarmored exalted, you have to kill them twice, and then they just keep spawning, and then
Oh my gosh.
Just like that. We should be coming up on the mini boss here, which is another mod pack effect. Elysium has two mini bosses. One of them is this butterfly or butterfly ball, and the other one is the Minotaur. And this butterfly is much faster. So one of the changes we made was to just always guarantee the butterfly. Oh, and we're getting a fountain now. Yeah, just because the time difference. Oh, great, Skip. Yeah, that time difference is just huge. The Minotaur has a whole cutscene and stuff. You lose at least 15 seconds, even if you insta-kill it.
very buggy sometimes, where the Minotaur can just run around the room after you've defeated him, and you're just sitting there at his mercy.
Oh,
Now we're in Chamber 34, which is actually the last room of Elysium before the boss. We managed to get a couple of skips, which are great. You always want to see skips in Elysium because Elysium can have some good rooms, but it also has a lot of bad rooms relatively. So you always want to fight as little as you can.
There's also a lot of enemies in Elysium that give Rama some trouble. Like the armored bowmen in particular are fast, they shoot fast, and when you get hit while you're charging up your attack, you get stunned out of it, and they can dispel from there.
Curse of Vengeance has done so much work for me, honestly, because of that.
Here we're at the heroes fight, where we have to fight both Theseus and Asterius, or aka the Minotaur. This is where Rama can do really well or really poorly, because you're able to tag both of them and get extra damage on both of them. But there's also more people, so you can get stunned out of them, and it's...
This is where we were really hoping we would have the acorn. What the acorn keepsake does is it basically protects you from 5 hits in a boss
There
fight.
we go.
So you can kind of just make sure you get a full shot while the bosses are doing their own thing, and then it gives you a bit of protection for a while, as you can see. Rama has a slow attack, so you tend to get hit out of it a lot. But we did wrap him up, and we're moving on into the last biome now,
Should be useful detecting a pattern.
where we get to see the good boy, Cerberus.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the rats.
Oh, the rats. The rats are good boys too. For everyone
Yeah.
else, don't give me the rats.
So in 6, we have to find an item called the Satyr Sack to feed the good boy Cerberus, so he'll let us pass. So there's these 5 different tunnels, and normally in the base game, the Satyr Sack can be in any tunnel after the first. As you can imagine, that sort of randomness at the very end of the run is not the most fun experience, so the mod pack guarantees the sack to be in the second tunnel.
Can't do that.
It's really nice to have some Poseidon or something in there.
Interesting layers.
These rooms, but
Yeah, 6 is another place where Rama can struggle. The smaller enemies, the smaller rooms tend to get you stunned.
I accept this message
The rooms in 6 tend to have a lot of
now.
geometry, as we like to call it, where you can end up shooting the wall by a pixel.
Here.
Or it's a little rough going for Rama, but Poseidon will help a lot if you get that, but we didn't get it today.
think this jerky will last into the dad fight. Right, this is my last room, I
Yes,
think.
this is your last room.
Just gonna clean up these rats here, and we'll be grabbing our Seder sack.
Something for Cerberus. Back I go.
Tempting to buy that Zeus over there
More tunnels.
for possible splitting, but
Zeus
not really
good.
worth.
I owe you one.
It's good. Confirmed.
Yeah, that's one of the things that speedrunners have to consider a lot is whether or not to shop in an RTA run. Because if whatever you're buying isn't going to save you more time than it takes to buy it, then it's not really worth it. So especially in sticks, where you're basically at the end, not a lot of things are going to save you that much time.
Great.
About 80s.
Yep, so as one might expect, Hades is the final boss of Hades. In this first phase, he can use a move called Darkness where he'll disappear and you have to wait for him to show up again. There is a way to manipulate him to like prolong him from disappearing, but that requires a certain keepsake that we're not using here because Acorn is very nice for boss fights on Rama. So we're kind of just at his mercy when he decides to the darkness.
Man.
Yeah, and then this first phase, again, can be a little rough for Rama, where there's a lot of ads, a lot of things going on, and you really want to try to get those power shots off on him.
Come on, get up.
But like any great boss, he's got a phase 2. And he's back up with a little different set of moves this time, where he'll shoot laser beams where we like to hug our dad, because there's no hitbox right on top of him.
I am very used to the dad fight being something you don't have to think about at all. And after you start getting these little more challenging weapons, I guess. There we go. Finally got them. It's not just mash the buttons real fast. There's other things you have to do. Cool. We got through Rama.
See you at home.
Check that off my list.
We're moving on to Demeter now?
Nam.
All right now.
Nam is what I was
first?
going to do.
Okay.
Something
Yeah,
I'm a little more
these-
comfortable on.
These less meta weapons do have to interact with the game a little bit more.
Yeah.
A lot of the reason meta weapons are meta is just because they have so much damage
Again?
or they have easy access to so much damage that a lot of the times you don't really have to think about really fighting a lot of enemies or bosses. You know, it's kind of just one decision and you're done.
Yeah. See who we
So
get.
we're moving.
Ooh.
Ooh, nice. So we're moving to Nemesis, which nice. The keepsake that Matt's is starting with is the shackle, which makes your attack, special, and/or cast 100% stronger if it's not being strengthened by a boon currently. And dash strike, even though it is technically strengthening our attack, does not count. So Nemesis really appreciates this early double damage, especially because there's so many different builds that work well with it.
Yeah, Nemesis, obviously a sword. Its whole thing is that after you do your special, you'll get a 30% crit boost for like 4 seconds or something.
Something like that.
Somewhere around there.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Don't ask me for specific numbers, but it's something like that. Yeah, so it's pretty much the best sword aspect
It's no use.
because of that. And what it really likes is percent-based damage, because crits are one of the only things that's multiplicative in this game. So you can just scale really well with a lot of dash or a lot of attack and dash strike damage. It unfortunately does struggle with range, as you can tell in our favorite X-Trap room, where you'll get enemies spawning all around the room and you have to dash to them manually because it's a melee weapon. That is one thing that Shackle does help, though. You'll notice we don't have a cast boon on the left there, so our Shackle is making our cast do 100% more damage, so that can one-shot a lot of the more problematic enemies in Tart.
I don't know if I'm getting over there.
Oh, nice.
Stay out of my way.
Yep, it's always nice to see. We love Boldy here.
Need a little. Good choice.
You can get Boldy.
Good chance.
And Boldy will believe in you, giving us cast damage. Random
Random
buff.
tiny
of
buff.
Something. Very small.
Oops.
Yeah, Zeus is always nice on pretty much any build. It has so many good boons.
This is basically a perfect god pool on Nemesis here. You really want Artemis for the crit that she provides. If you end up getting Artemis attack, you can stack Artemis's inherent crit buff with Nemesis's crit buff. The dash is great as well. And now we have our hammer double edge. That just makes our dash strike hit twice and do 20% more damage. So it's by far the best sword hammer, and we have a lot of damage now.
A little fun fact before.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would say before the mod pack in its early stages still being tweaked. Before we could choose hammers for all aspects, Nemesis was one of 2 aspects that just had it set to its preferred hammer because it's just such a game changer.
Oops. Forgot I had 3 dashes there. So
Yeah, speaking of, we did pick up Greatest Reflex from Hermes, which just gives us extra dashes. That's one of the best things you can get on Nemesis because we're just always dash striking, so having one more dash just gives us that much more damage. And you'll see that we cleared up Furies very quickly there.
I am going to take the shackle off here. Force already going to take the attack and go for Heartrend.
Lapras,
That's
Nemesis special.
my favorite build. This is one of the classic boomer builds, as we call them, where we used to think it was the best in the game before we found out everything. But it is still a really fun and really good build, where you take Artie attack dash for the crits and the extra damage, and then you take Aphrodite special and you go for Heartrend, which makes your crits do even more damage. So we're gonna hopefully get that later on the run.
The haste of Hermes.
We're just going to take some safety. Yeah. I don't know. It wasn't like the first routed, like theoretically fastest. I'm not really sure, but I feel like it's one of the oldest and most enduring routes was the, come on, the Nemesis Heartrend one.
That was definitely the first route that I saw of this game. Yeah, it's just really fun. You get +4 dashes, you get a million
Stop to get this.
dash strikes from chaos, and you just run around killing everything.
Oh, another change that the mod pack adds is it removes one of the Asphodel mini barges, the Barge of Death, which is basically an auto scroller. It actually replaces it with this witches fight, so you're twice as likely to see the witches as you are the other mini boss, the power couple.
Yeah, as much as Barge has a banger soundtrack, it's very slow compared. It's probably the slowest mini boss, right? Like by far,
Oh yeah,
even
for sure.
compared to others.
Yeah, and you have nothing you can do about it because you have to get on it, wait for it to start, wait for it to end.
And then you get a 3-wave room, which Barge is often slower than a regular room, whereas mini bosses in general are usually faster. So it's way off.
Oh, are we gonna get it? Oh, let's go.
There's the heart run we're looking for.
All sorts of green boons. Yeah. So what does heart run do?
Yeah, so heart run, normally a crit does 3 times damage. Heart run makes that 4.5 times damage.
So enemies afflicted by weak, which is what our
when
F special is doing.
Yeah.
And since we're constantly using the special to refresh our Nemesis crit buff, enemies are usually afflicted by weak.
Big number. Now the only thing we're kind of missing here is just some chaos boons to give us an even bigger percent modifier for our crits. There's 2 types of damages in Hades. There's additive, which is most things. Like our RD dash does plus 70% more, our attack does plus 20% more. So we're doing plus 90% more, and then we have our crit doing 4.5 times. So we want some chaos to give us more of that plus. So get maybe, plus 200%. It's a really good place to be.
Closer.
Yeah, I was checking the well there for a Light of Ixion to maybe force a chaos.
Yeah,
But we can just go naturally.
So far.
Nope. Rama also wants attack and dash strike, and just we haven't been singing them. So back to our good friend Elysium.
Oh,
Watching our
I did not know
favorite
this
Blue Man
guy
group.
spawned up here. Come on. Yeah, the dash strikes that we're using can be a little frustrating at times. They take more than anything patience, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Like a few times here I've been just like mashing too fast and kind of gets away from you. To be like really accurate with it, I feel like you just have to be patient with your inputs.
Yeah, absolutely. Nemesis is one that's, Sword in general, is harder to learn, I think, among aspects out there. Because you do have to be really precise with these dash strikes. They have a very thin moving hitbox, so it's very easy to miss things. And a lot of the times when people are learning Nemesis, the thing we'll say is just slow down. Don't dash as fast as you can, like on other things. Something like Eris, where you have splash dash, you want to get the dash out as fast as possible to just do damage. But with Nemesis, that's going to cause you to miss a lot.
So here we saw an unfortunate conflict of 3 rooms. It was mid-chop against the story room.
But getting that story room is nice because we do get 60% attack damage. Oh no,
I actually just took the health.
Oh, okay.
If I wasn't live, I would have.
That's fair. Totally fair decision. Safety strats are always great for marathon running. And what that health also does is it helps us keep up high confidence, which is also damage. So it's not nothing damage wise either.
The randomized 3 weapons is a community race favorite, and no one has ever died during those. Absolutely not.
Definitely not anyone named Archelena. Something we didn't really get to talk about in Tart with Nemesis is that one of the good reasons for running Shackle is not just that it helps Nemesis do damage in that biome, but it also leaves you open for a lot of options. Nemesis, despite not being a meta aspect, or one of the top meta aspects, it has a lot of build variety that you can play with. So we're going for the Heart Run build right now. Something else that people do is they'll take Splash Dash, and Nemesis can also play very well with the Merciful End build, which I don't think we'll be seeing today, but it's maybe the strongest build on this aspect. And then Nemesis also can just go with do your own build of just damage. So taking Shackle and Tart just like helps you play what you get. It's one of like a handful of aspects that can really do that, where you're not necessarily hoping for only one specific thing.
Yeah, it's not unheard of to just keep Shackle on even, like, if you absolutely have to, if things don't come together. Like, it has a lot of power just on its own as a aspect, I feel like.
And if you end up just getting, like, good boons in general, like Zeus Call, then that can be your build on Nemesis.
And the absolute best, we were talking about this beforehand, the best part of Nemesis is just the constant crits firing off neurons in your head. It's just satisfying to see all those.
It's great. It's one of my favorite aspects for sure because of that. One thing we didn't manage to pick up in this build that would have been really nice was Hunter's Mark. Especially for this fight, what Hunter's Mark does is if you get a crit, a nearby enemy will get marked and they'll be, it's a status effect that makes them take crits more often. And you can just chain that back and forth between these two in this fight. You'll just see them melt sometimes. But we still had a really good fight. Cleared them up pretty quickly.
That'll show them. No use.
No. Don't need to really do any shopping there.
For Elysium.
Yeah, so the keepsake that Mads took at the beginning of Elysium is the sigil of the dead? The Hades sigil.
Dead call. That's what we call it.
So what that basically does is it gives you a brief damage and speed boost. And it comes pre-charged, 25%, so it's always like the backup option, or like always a good backup if you aren't able to get a call like Zeus Call, which is really the only other calling consideration with some exceptions.
Yeah, Dio can work as well. Like budget Zeus Call.
Might as well do something when you see Dio. I try to reframe Dio as positive to get as much as I can, so I don't get always disappointed.
That's fair. Yeah. I do like some Dio Call, especially on like Splash Dash builds where you can end up getting exclusive access.
Saw earlier in the chat somebody mentioned that the mod pack also removes the tiny vermin, aka Tony. Which is
That's another one with the cutscene and a lot of health that just takes a while. And maybe most egregiously, sometimes he just constantly burrows and you just can't hit him for a while.
yeah.
Here's those
friends.
rats. I am going to shop it that well. Particularly because I got hit by that trap.
Some of Charon's wares.
Something we haven't noticed, or something we haven't mentioned yet, is if you've noticed, a lot like things, enemies, traps, interactables have this little blue outline on them. That's the colorblind accessibility mod, which is it's the only leaderboard legal mod for unmodded, right?
Yeah, you can. It's a part of the mod pack too, but you can even use it in unmodded runs because important to have that accessibility option.
So I am taking a Eurydice Nectar into the dad fight right now. Which is
RTA moment. That's another thing, another consideration about RTA is that, if you pick up a boon, you have to go through a menu, you have to decide what to take. All of that takes time. And if you're picking up a boon that's not going to really do anything for your build, then it's kind of a time loss. So a lot of times you'll just avoid gods in general.
Yeah, so here in the death fight, like I mentioned in the Rama run, that there is a way to manipulate Dad to not darkness. When you use his call, he'll repeats every enemy's action, but it's specifically no Worthy in the Dead fight because it makes him do another action before he can Darkness again. So I don't know if you caught that in the first part of the fight where Dad spun, Mads used the Dad call, and then he spun again.
We're having a pretty solid fight here. It's going pretty quickly. We have a solid build on them, so it's very good.
Yeah,
That obviously being the final boss has a lot of health. Usually the longest fight in the game.
Considering we didn't get any chaos either. This is all Heart Round. And Hardy
Yeah.
Dash.
There we go. Whew.
That's run
What
two.
do we have up next? Damn. So the fists. I think the kind of strongest way to play the fists is with a Merciful End build. I don't really want to do a Merciful End build though because I don't know. It's inconsistent and not very fun. In my humble opinion, there's many of the fist gang out there that will quibble with that and say it's blast or whatever. I think they're wrong. So I'm going to... Actually, I think I'm going to go Legacy for this too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Legacy's opposite.
Splitting both is very nice to get on Zeus Fist.
Let's punch things up a bit. All right.
Yeah.
one more time.
And really, so we're going to be doing a lot of punching. We're taking the Zeus attack, which procs every time you punch. So it does a lot of good damage early, but there's also some status effects we can add on to that later. And the kind of defining feature of this build, though, is going to be what dash I end up getting. Either Poseidon or Ares is what I'm going to go for. Yeah, sure, whatever.
Fist is one of those builds that has very low base damage, so it's hard to run and something like we did on the last two, where you're looking for like crits or something from chaos to help you out damage wise. Fist is not really going to get that, so we do run things like Zeus, which just does a flat 10 damage added. So it's kind of like that's like 50% of the fist attack damage on its own. More, and then can also just combo into a lot of things with that.
Shiny.
This is the not the dark horse, but the unwanted sixth weapon that we're always joking about. Can we play 5 weapons instead of all weapons? Because it's just not very good or not very consistent.
It can have great times on it. It has a lot of them actually, but they're all just on inconsistent builds that are not very marathon friendly. Even something like Zap can be more consistent, but it's not going to hit the same peaks.
There's also, I think, the most dedicated fans of this weapon, though, than any
Oh,
other
for sure.
one. Whether it's Talos or Gilga or whatever.
Shout out to all the Hades fisters out there.
All those fisters. Any
There.
fisters in chat? I'm sure there are.
Styles for the twin fists.
Another nice skip here.
I would love that
I'll
Zeus.
get that Zeus.
Yeah, we need
Yeah.
to skip it.
Oh, here it is.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, we'll take that. Oh, I should have taken that palm too.
So what Jolted does is it's a status effect that whenever, or static discharge, applies the Jolted status effect. That whenever you hit an enemy with a lightning effect, they get that status effect, and when they attack, they take Jolted damage.
This is a nice
There we go.
sequence here. We got Jolted in shop. Then we found RD special, which is one of the 2 better specials that we want. What Demeter does is, you hit him 12 times, and then when you use your special, it has 5 hits. So RD has, again, those crits, so it's one of the better specials to use for something like Demeter. And then we got a skip. And a pretty solid Chamber 12, too.
Yeah.
No, I'm just gonna pass on that stuff. I think. What do you think?
I'm back.
I think I'm gonna go Ares Dash.
Berries, yeah.
Yeah, it is a lot more easy to control the two
shit.
camps when when the two camps when it comes to dashes, Aries for blade dash or Poseidon for tidal dash. Tidal dash can be really hard to control on Fizz because you're constantly knocking them away, and this is a very short range weapon. I'm a Splash fan myself, but it can definitely be hard to control. And like Asphodel, you just knock them into the lava, and you're like, oh, guess I gotta go grab them. And then you sit in the lava, then you die. And
Yeah, especially if you have to pick something after Tartarus. Splash Dash. Splash Dash is great in general, but especially in Tartarus, it can just do a lot of work on its own. I think in Tartarus, you just take it. But if you have to pick after, I think you have more of a reason to go for Blade Dash.
they also play quite differently, where Splash Dash, oh nice, that Light of Extend will force a Chaos Gate to spawn, so it's a free room. Splash Dash will immediately hit the enemy, which is hard to control with like hitting them and trying to punch them afterwards, whereas Blade Dash, you have to like dash a bunch on the enemy to create a bunch of blades. So it's a very different play style that can be tricky to get the hang of.
Should be worth it soon enough.
Any dash is better than no dash, like we have right.
Yeah, I would love a dash. Oh my gosh.
This is that's an Asphodel moment where it has a lot of these bone fellas, and they like to jump. And so, especially on melee weapons, sometimes you have to follow them all around the room for a while.
Take this one. Easy does it.
I might have missed it, but did we pick up our hammer already?
Yeah,
We did.
okay, so typically the hammer twice on Fist is Breaching Cross, which does a 900% increased damage to armor. So, that's quite good for armored enemies, and, because the dash attack is such a small base damage, they decided 900%, sure, that's a good number.
Yeah, it's only on the dash attack, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it does strip armor pretty fast. It's really good at that. And unfortunately, it doesn't really give you much boss damage outside of that, but that's,
Hermes.
secondary. It's important enough to get rid of the armor on its own.
Yeah, there's not many good Fist hammers anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Time to pick up the pace.
And I mean, it's useful for Lernia just on its own, I feel like, too.
Oh, for sure.
More wave makers.
Lernia has so much armor between the heads. Where is this last one?
Wow,
Yeah,
it's like SOL.
these wave makers, the orange reddish ones, are the worst in terms of jumping. They will run away from you, they'll throw waves that push you back, and when you finally get past the waves, they'll jump again. Yeah, despite Fist shortcomings compared to other weapons, it is very strong at the learning fight.
Let's have it out between us then.
Even without like a full build, it can have a good learning fight just because of that breaching cross, taking care of the armor on all of the side
God.
heads.
Yeah, I see that. Those just pop. Oh no. Can't stand in the lava though. That is not useful.
Very common for melee weapons to take a learning tax,
Mm-hmm.
especially the Fist. Especially when you get the purple side heads, they spawn and stay in the lava so that they can shoot the waves, and then they eventually come out of the lava, but that's slow, and
A lot of times you just run into the lava with them.
Yeah. Come on, Lernie.
sometimes Learn just does this.
Yeah, I think this was the most unfortunate learning combination. I think Greenhead especially is prone to just standing there in the bubble.
It has to do with like the green one spawns ads, and if you don't kill the ad, learning won't phase. But sometimes you kill the ad at a weird timing, and learning still doesn't phase.
Something with attack cues and when, or confusing.
Whatever. I just press buttons.
What's? I didn't see what keepsake we grabbed. What are we taking?
I just grabbed the acorn because I probably should have grabbed that hammer. We don't have our second Hermes yet, so I wanted better odds at rush delivery here, or plus dashes, whatever, something good.
Yeah. What'll happen is Hermes has 2 call-based boons that are normally not in the pool, but once you take a call, Hermes will offer you those options. So what we try to do is not have a call boon before we've seen our Hermes to maximize our chances of something good. And then hopefully we see our Hermes nice and quick.
Yeah, that was the primary reason I was thinking I should have taken the hammer, the last chamber. Get better odds of seeing Hermes. But
yeah, there's a lot of small math that Hades runners will do to make tiny optimizations of things. A lot of times dealing with Hermes. Hermes probably the most, maybe the most pivotal thing for every run.
nice. I want to be seeing Ares.
Are we looking for black metal or engulfing here?
Engulfing, preferably, but I'll take black metal if I see it, and I'll just be not too happy about it. And I'm rolling. I don't care.
Anything else?
Okay, not too happy
Black
about
metal. I like black metal a lot.
it. Yeah?
Yeah, the blade dash is normally kind of small. Sometimes it's hard to hit things with it. Or maybe that's just me.
The more important thing is that it's one of the prerequisites for the Ares legendary, which will increase the damage of these blade dashes by a lot.
Nice one.
Oh, nice.
Okay,
Fun, Hermes.
so I start
Hermes
my
and a
roll,
fountain.
so we just have to give us rush delivery. Great.
That's unfortunate. We didn't see it. We didn't have a roll to try again. But there is always one more chance to get Hermes and sticks. There's a 50-50 whether you get an offer to Hermes or Anvil, which will swap your hammers. Usually you don't want to take the Anvil. Sometimes you don't want to take the Hermes either, just because you can lose time and not
I
get
will
anything.
be if it's there.
But yeah, when you're close to getting rush delivery and you didn't get it, you want to buy that Hermes anyway. And we have the money. It costs 500 gold, and we're at 561 right now.
Oh, that is nice. The best Hermes you've seen, +1 dash.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Hades is a roguelike, ultimately. There's a lot of RNG that we can add as much as we can to the mod pack to help it, but at the end of the day, it's a lot of RNG. The community is in the works of a even more RNG tuned mod pack, the hyper modded one. That's still in the works, but the goal of that is to remove even more run crushing RNG.
Yeah, just make like a comfier experience for everyone. It can be hard to deal with RNG for thousands of hours, so sometimes you just don't want to do that, and you still enjoy playing the game. And there's still RNG in it anyway.
It's just different RNG.
Sometimes that's just what you need, though. Actually getting some pretty nice grouping on the heroes here.
Yeah.
They're sticking together really well, so that blade dash is doing a lot of damage.
And the cutter is able to.
And the cutter too,
I have explosive upper.
A lot of times, I think like you've seen in the other fights, they can just run to opposite sides of the room.
And I took a Zeus call, right? No, I did not. Yeah, I'll put this on. Nah.
Gave you that idea.
I was considering buying a Kiss of Sticks if it was there, but I want to get Hermes.
And once again, we're taking Dad Call. What Dad Call also does, aside from being able to manipulate Dad, is that it just gives you, I think, a 100% or 50% damage boost for, like a short while after you use it.
Should check this way.
Which on something like Zap Fist, where we have a lot of different damage sources, we have, our regular attacks, we have our Zeus, we have our Blade Dash, we have our Jolted. It'll increase all of those, so it's really, really good for that.
There was a Hermes in shop, so
There was?
yeah.
Okay. So we just need 44 gold, and we can get a Hermes.
Can't do that.
I'm seeing in chat, what are the mods? So the speedrunning mod pack just
No use.
there's a whole bunch of nice little RNG changes to make running it just feel nicer.
Yeah, we've removed a few of the mini bosses that are guaranteed time loss.
Hades.
The main one is that we always have the guaranteed stack on the second tunnel. We can pick our first hammer on every aspect.
I bet it's in here.
And what else?
First boon
No use.
offers all the cores.
Yeah. And something that we have that we're running today that hopefully we don't see, that's not a normal part of the mod pack, is the Infinity D mod, which normally when you run out of Death Defiances, you will lose the run. But we like to run it during marathons just so that, we don't die at the end of a run and then
For a huge 3.
that's it, we don't get to finish. And what that does is instead of dying, we'll get a 10-second time penalty, and then we have to,
Something.
and then we'll get a life and be able to continue the run.
I just got +3 dashes from that. Hermes.
It's something.
I was
Yeah, it's something.
considering going to the Ares instead for whatever it's called, Vicious Cycle. But +3 dashes, I don't know, it's more than something. Gets a lot more
Not
blade
nothing.
dashes out. Yeah.
It's our ability to. Dashes give
Yeah.
iframes, although when you're constantly attacking, you're also losing those iframes, so. But, mobility, safety, all good things.
A bit more damage doesn't hurt.
I trust you're having a most pleasant evening, boy. Better, I suppose. How truly wonderful to hear.
Yeah, like Elena mentioned, when you're constantly attacking, you're losing iframes. The way dashing works is if you dash empty dash, as we call it, without attacking, you do get a bit, but as soon as you hit the attack button, those go away. So on something like Fist, or also with like Nemesis, where you're dashing a lot and you're constantly attacking, it can be one of the more dangerous weapons, or some of the more dangerous aspects. So you'll often find Fist runs not finishing, or same thing for Nemesis. Achilles as well as another one of those. But we're doing well here. We have 1 DD left still. We have a good amount of health. And we do have that Dad Call, which can also provide you some safety if you need to use it.
Time's gonna be coming up soon when
Oh, yeah.
Hades is beat.
Time.
Time.
Okay.
Wow.
Wasn't the prettiest runs. They're honestly fairly ugly. But we finished all of them.
Goodbye, Father.
Death Throne.
That is the nature of both Hades, the video game, and randomized aspects.
Yeah.
Definitely runs of all time.
So there we go. Yeah, I didn't do much talking, I guess, through that, but I want to just say, I guess, a couple things about the Hades community. We're pretty late in the Hades kind of life now, as far as like a game with Hades 2 around the corner, and it's really, really great to see that it's really still active. I guess there's a lot going on. There's new players coming in. There's a lot of I'll use the word seasoned players that are still around, that are helping people out. And it's a really welcoming community. And there's a lot going on. There's a lot of different categories to run. There's a lot of different aspects. So if you don't vibe with, the top meta aspects that tend to be kind of the cast weapons or something, there's a tons of things you can play, and you're still A, get competitive times, but B, you don't compete against those times, so it doesn't really matter. You're running against all the other Demeter Fists runs. So yeah, I super encourage people to check it out if you want to play a speed game.
So, quick question.
Yeah.
Do y'all have any last minute shout outs? And again, please be sure to follow all of these wonderful folks. We did have some shout outs, but please feel free to plug your own channels, social media, etc.
Yeah. I mean, I don't stream Hades too much anymore, and I kind of just got off of last night. I ran Inscription, so I was running that a lot, or at the Fatales Marathon, so I've been running that a lot. But for sure, once Hades 2 gets kicked up again, you can follow me at Mads Brutal. That's my name on Twitch, and I'll be playing that again. Do y'all want to shout out your stuff?
Yeah, same with me. I taking a extended break from Hades speedrunning, but I do still stream every now and then. I'm at twitch.tv/Arcolina. When Hades 2's come out, sure there'll be plenty of content there.
Yeah, same as well. Also on a bit of a Hades break, but I never stream that much anyway. But when I do, you can find me at twitch.tv/trash_lappers.
Yeah. So other than that, that's all I have. Thanks for having us, and enjoy the other runs you got.
Indeed, we do have more content coming up here on GDQ Hotfix. Thanks to y'all again for the wonderful Hades run and showcase. Remember that if you are watching on YouTube, be sure to press the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel. Also go to twitch.tv/GamesDoneQuick if you're interested in looking at our live content, starting weeknights at 7 p.m. Eastern and weekends at 1 p.m. Eastern. Your subs, Prime Gaming subs, gift subs, and bits shared on the GDQ Twitch channel help support Games Done Quick Hotfix. Please consider subscribing if you enjoy the daily speedrunning content. SGDQ 2023 game submissions are open for 2 more days until March 7th. Go to GamesDoneQuick.com for more info. And if you missed out on any of our Frame Fatale runs, go to YouTube.com/GamesDoneQuick and check out the playlist for any runs you may have missed. And with that being said, everyone be sure to stretch, hydrate, and we'll be right back with the Frost Fatale bonus stream. Welcome back to the Frost Fatale bonus stream. We have CBK and Mendez now here with Magicat. How are y'all doing?
Good, thank you. Yeah, excited to run the game.
Yeah, super excited. Like I've not played this game myself, but I've seen a lot of it and from CBK, and CBK has given me a crash course in Magicatology. So yeah, excited to do some commentary.
All right, well, I am excited to see this run. So if y'all are ready to go, on your count.
Thank you. Yeah. So my commentator Mendez here, cat appreciator, and yeah, we're gonna run this game and talk about it.
Yep.
So you can count down, Mendez, and we can start.
All right, in that case, let's go ahead and begin. We'll be starting on, it's the New Game Plus category, so we'll be starting from the New Game Plus item here on the menu. Let's go ahead and start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Ooh, I'm rough. Little cutscene here. We can't skip this cutscene here, but it's pretty short and quite cute anyway.
Oh, cute though!
Yeah, so that's Magicat. I don't know if he has a name, she has a name. But super cute. This evil monkey has stolen the gem, and we're on our way to retrieve it.
As you can tell, extremely high budget storyline here. The stakes are high.
Yeah.
A random gem has been stolen.
Magicat is not having it.
We are not having it. We have to get it back.
We found that gem first.
Absolutely. So this is a 2D side-scroll platform game where you play as Magicat. You can see this is the New Game Plus category, so CBK has already got all the abilities and everything from the full game, and is going to be making through her way through these levels as quickly as possible.
You can see this game like just in the aesthetics is very inspired by like classic 16-bit games, especially Mario. Gives me very much a kind of Mario vibe in terms of the looks. Very colourful and nice. Oh, first boss here.
Yeah, absolutely. So each of the stages in the game has its own boss, and the bosses tend to have multiple phases. You can see the health bar at the top of the screen is divided into different colours, and each colour indicates a different phase. After each phase, the boss gets a little bit more powerful or faster or whatever, and enters a little invulnerability period before you can damage it again. So there we go, taking out the first boss there, no problems whatsoever. Now the level ends as soon as either after a certain amount of time after the boss is dead, or after you collect all the items, all the coins that spill out of the boss. So trying to collect the coins as fast as possible to trigger the cutscene to get to the next level.
Yeah. Underground pond here. So this game has a lot of different level themes. Like the full game, there's so many levels and so many different cool themes you can see. You're gonna see a few of them in the run, but really cute.
Yeah, a few of them, not most of them.
yeah, a small amount of them. We're gonna skip quite a lot of the game. Yeah.
There's an awful lot in this game that you can skip.
Yeah.
Because of how the kind of world map works in terms of unlocking new areas, which we'll see coming up in a little bit. Just in terms of like what CBK is picking up here, so we've got the coins that she's picking up that kind of give you score, and that's actually important in the speedrun, because if you look in the top left corner, you can see a paw counter, and in order to unlock certain areas, you need a certain number of paws, and the number of paws you get from a level tends to depend on the score that you get on that level.
Yeah.
So the more score we can get, the faster we can unlock things, and the faster we can get to new areas. And we also have the other collectible that we're getting is potions, and those are used to heal and also to use the dash ability, which lets her dash into enemies. As you can see, that's the main attack from the side that she's using there.
The heal takes 3 potions and the dash takes 1. You have to do a little bit of resource management. It's quite nice being able to heal, but it does take a lot of potions, and it's quite nice for causing damage. The dash causes 3 points of damage, whereas the little popcorn he shoots, which I think is supposed to be a fireball, causes 1 point of damage. Oh, I've got popcorn. Okay, so we're going to do a time attack of this as well. This is to farm extra paws, as Mendez was saying. We need to gather as many as we can in a short time.
Yeah. So we are going to need 33 paws coming up after the next level. So by rerunning the level, we can maximize the number of paws. The thing is, if you rerun the same level over and over again, you get diminishing returns on the number of paws that you get. So it's really only efficient to like redo a level once, do a level first time, then do it once again to get the maximum number of paws, and then move on to the next level.
Yeah. The paws.
So there's going to be a few levels that we run twice.
Yeah. It's kind of the most efficient way to do it. And there's lots of different routes you can take in this game. Different runners have their own kind of routes they've worked out to get across the map. No boss in the time attack. That's fine.
Yeah.
Let's see the paws here. I've got 7.
So the way the map works is you can destroy rocks in order to get to another area. And to destroy a rock, you need to use 3 paws. So you can see CBK destroying 2 of the rocks there to basically skip over to this other side of the island.
I'll go right now. I love this level. Cute. The whole candy themed island.
Yeah.
So I like this route. We get to see this. In the any % category, which is kind of the first category I ran, we take quite a different route because you need to collect red gems to unlock his abilities. We don't see this level, so I quite like the New Game Plus route. A nice variety of levels.
Yeah, you get a big variety of levels, but as I say, not all of them. Like these there's apparently a bunch of other candy themed levels, but we only see the chocolate one.
Yeah, there's loads. There's one that's like themed after like a birthday cake. There's a bunch of cool stuff. There's like a lot of islands we don't see as well, because we're going to skip a lot of like the islands. There's like a Halloween themed island. There's all kind of stuff. There's like a water themed island we don't see. Yeah, I highly recommend like checking out the game and playing it. A lot of cool stuff.
Yeah. So the way we're going to handle this boss is we're going to intentionally take damage, and that's going to give us invincibility frames to get behind the boss. And because the area behind the boss is so big, we can just use the dash attack to hit into the back of the enemy with it and be completely safe.
Yeah, yeah. I do wonder if this was intentional because they've kind of left the gap here, but it's I don't know. I mean, it's useful for us. It's a strange little thing.
Yeah, the interesting thing about dash is when you dash into an enemy, it gives you a massive boost upward. So the only thing you have to worry about is going into these spikes above. But
try to stay here. So if you stay here, you can kind of hopefully avoid them. Oops, that's a bit too early.
Yeah. Yeah. So when the boss has the yellow aura around it, that it's kind of an invulnerable stage. So
yeah, there's not much you can do there. Just like wait it out.
Yeah,
that's on all the bosses. They have that.
So it's after this level that we're going to need the 33 pause. So we're going to redo this level for the time attack real quick.
Hopefully we can get enough. Yeah, and then we're going to use an ability that Magicat has. One of the upgrades, he can lay platforms across the water in the overworld, and it costs 10 pause each time. So we need that. Plus we need 3 pause to break a rock, and this allows us to skip quite a big portion of the overworld. Pretty nice. Speed through here. Don't need to worry about the potions too much here because there's no boss. Because the dashes come in really handy on the bosses. But since there's no boss on the time attack, I'm just going to use them to get through as quick as possible.
Yeah. The other thing that's a really important concept in this run is that health is massively used as a resource because you can collect the potions to do the heal. It's just like so used to just damage boosting through things and just collecting a couple more potions on the way.
Something I often do by accident is stuck in the water. The water's very like sticky physics here. Is the dash button is the same as the heal button, but if you press down on the button, it heals you. So I often accidentally do that if I'm pressing down and trying to dash, and then it wastes 3 potions. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to lay these platforms. So now we've got across and basically skipped a bunch of the overworld.
Yeah.
And
that skipped a bunch of the game, so we are like definitely way ahead of where we should be at this point.
Yeah.
So this is one of the trickier levels of the game. There's a lot of bottomless pits, like so. Fortunately, dying in this game, especially to bottomless pits, you do just respawn next to it. However, dying does tend to come with a penalty, so you will lose some. Well, you'll lose some health, and if you fully run out of health, you will start to lose pause. And obviously, since we do need the pause to get around on the overworld, that is potentially a time loss if we lose too many.
Yeah, I was trying to do a fancy little dash underneath there, but I just took it the safe way in the end because it wasn't quite working. A little auto scroller coming up here. Always fun.
Oh, everyone loves a good auto scroller.
Yeah, I'm a Sonic runner, so you know, like as well. We're both fun, so quite used to auto scrollers. So love them.
Please,
these balloons. This no scroller here. This is a set pattern, so usually it's pretty okay. Sometimes I don't quite get what I'm supposed to. But get up here safely. I don't want to get hit by the arrows because you just get knocked backwards, and then you have to start this whole little auto scroll bit again. Oof, nice.
Yeah, the knockback can be quite obnoxious, but managing it perfectly there. And then we'll head up to the boss of Balloon Flight, which this is slightly more difficult just because of the layout of the arena, but still going to try and take that same strategy to take the damage and then get behind the boss.
Yeah, I've got to get the iframes again, but sometimes he can knock you off the balloon. Stay, get hit, and then stay. There we go.
There we go. Perfect.
And basically the same.
And this time it's a little bit easier even behind the boss because there's no spikes below the boss to worry about. You just gotta do a dash, and whenever it's vulnerability frames are gone, and there we go.
Yeah, we just gotta wait on this one. It's interesting, like about the end card, as Mendes was saying earlier. You can also trigger it by just falling down the bottomless pit. So as soon as this boss has the last hit, you just fall down the bottomless pit, and it instantly triggers the end card. So as soon as the last hit is done, you're invulnerable. You can't die. It's pretty cool. Yeah, about this game, it's made by an Indonesian indie studio. and it's really cute. They make a bunch of cute games. I just found this. I stumbled upon it, and I just found the sprite work so adorable. And I love cats.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, I have to look at this game. So we need to still be aware of our pause here. Go ahead, Nicholas.
Yeah, it is such an adorable game, and there's even some like character customization. You can like change the fur and hat color, which is awesome. The actual like main game.
Yeah, you get little ponds dotted around the map, and you can change Magicat's so his hat and fur color. And also the popcorn gets changed as well. One of my favourite ones is there's like a Halloween style one, and the popcorn gets changed like little skulls. This is very cute.
Oh,
and he's like purple. Love that one. And
yeah, the sprite work is absolutely delightful.
Yeah, these little animations, this little like Yoshi walk in the air. It's really cute. Oh, missed that jump there. Okay. Back.
So this is dripping ice. Despite the fact that it is kind of an ice level, there's not really like ice physics or anything. It's just a case of avoiding the icicles that are coming down from the top, the ceilings everywhere.
Yeah, thankfully no ice physics. There is another level in this world with ice physics, but we opted to do this one instead because it's a bit faster.
Yeah. This boss is a little bit of kind of attrition. We do need to like take a lot of damage because we like just really difficult to hit this boss without taking that damage.
I just want to like get the dash in as quick as possible. As soon as the yellow line is gone, I want to get those dashes in. I don't want to die either, if possible, because I need the pause at this point to move on to the late stages in the game.
Yeah.
I want to avoid dying, so I need to keep at least 3 dashes to heal if I need to. One more
yeah, we need at least 49 pause to move on after this stage, I think, after doing this time attack.
Yeah.
So
we've got one more.
We just got, I think, like 15 for that.
Yeah,
so
34 now.
Should hopefully have enough.
Sometimes it can happen if you take too many deaths or it just doesn't go well. You have to do an extra level or an extra time attack just to farm a bit extra. Hopefully should be good here.
Yeah.
Same level again. So you'll see like this little red gems dotted about as well. As I mentioned in the 80% run, these are really important because you use them as like a little shop, and you use these to buy like Magicat's abilities like the dash. With the dash as well, you might notice this little like after image every time he dashes there. If you collect this, you basically replenish 1 potion, which is pretty cool. So you can potentially have an infinite supply if you keep getting it back again. Hopefully should have enough after this. Yeah, we're all good.
Yeah.
59, so it's nice. We've got a little bit of a buffer there. But we also need them to break some of these blocks.
Yeah, so we're gonna just do a little bit of pathing on the world map here, put a platform down to get over here, a couple platforms to get over here, and one to get over here, and I think, is there one more? No, that's it.
Yeah, and then we're kind of now in sort of the last area we need to use the pause, so we don't need to worry about pause so much here. That was kind of the big area we needed them for.
Yeah.
But towards like the end game levels. So it's got this nice little level here before the end game, which is like similar to the first level. Quite nice. Little relaxation before.
Yeah. Before the last couple of levels, which are
yeah. Gonna get that monkey that's double gem.
Yeah.
Water physics are a bit annoying in this. Keeps pushing you upwards. If like sort of jump to dive down.
Yeah, so this ends up being a little bit of an auto-scroll. You got to wait for that platform to come down, and even if you could get down the water before without it pushing you upwards.
Yeah, there's not very much you can do to speed that up. Try and dash through the water as much as possible because the water physics is so slow. Right here. Coming towards the boss. I'm not a fan of this boss. It's a bit annoying, and I haven't got many dashes, so I've basically got 1 heal. So yeah.
Yeah, this is the boss that's got a heck of a lot of just like spikes on the ceiling and is really obnoxious because the best way to damage it is just to keep bouncing on it, but obviously the spikes are there.
I'm just gonna use
So,
dashes. If I take a death, it's fine. Like, I don't need the pause right now. I've got 11 pause. It's not a lot,
Yeah.
but probably enough. I can't heal right now. So every time you die, it does take pause, as Mendez was saying, and it doubles every time you die as well. You do have to be quite careful with deaths stack up. Okay, I think let's take this. Wait.
Yeah, on the last phase of the boss now.
Yeah.
The 2 balls gone, but that's fine. Can try and collect all the coins.
Missed that one. Sorry, it does time out.
That's
after a
fine.
while. Yeah.
And now after the forest, obviously the next logical leap after forest is we just head into space. So into magical space we go.
Yeah, this is an interesting level. We've got space physics here. So Magicat's very bouncy, kind of lightweight, low gravity. The walls are all just causing damage. All these red lines just cause damage, and you've got all these enemies shooting at you. Just got to try to get through as quick as possible. These were the enemies I was saying. It looks like either they're holding a gun or they've got like a little blow dart in their mouth. I don't know. I think they're holding a gun.
I don't know. Is that not just? Are they like? Is that not just how their modes are formed? I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe. That's what some people think. Some people
just have these like
their mouth.
weird trumpet shaped mouths.
Oh yeah, maybe that's just actually their mouth. Yeah, maybe. I think about that. That's a good theory. The new one.
Oh no. Yeah. There's a whole load of theories on that.
Yeah, it's a very deep lore in this game. Yeah.
The big Magicat conspiracy.
Yeah. Got a lot of like threads about it. Oh no, not very good avoidance.
It's so good.
Yeah.
In this section, the controls are completely different. So rather than having like the bouncy moon physics, it's more like the water, where we're just kind of like swimming around. Because I guess we now have no gravity whatsoever.
Yeah, it's very similar to the Choco Lake physics. It's kind of like static, like
yeah.
But got freedom of movement.
Quite impressive, like control of movement for not having any gravity. So.
Yeah, well, he's Magicat, you know.
But you know,
it's
in this Magicat, yeah.
He's been in space before.
Magic of propulsion energy.
Oh, I've run out of dash. Oh no, I've got more dash. So I can kind of get infinite dash. So if I keep replenishing it, I have to keep using it. Quite nice.
Yeah. Alright, we just have 2 levels left to go of the game now.
Yeah.
So we're going to head into this... we're going to, place platform down there and head up to the next stage. I think that's the last of the poles that you have to use, isn't it?
Yeah. So this is like the final level before the final boss. And you can kind of probably guess the inspiration for this one.
Yeah. It's your token castle level at the end of the world.
Yeah, it's a little dungeon level. Yeah, the enemies here are quite annoying. If you kill them, they just spout fire everywhere in every direction. Kind of a pain. We'll do some damage boosting later on. I'm gonna climb this. There is some lava rising at the bottom, but we're probably not going to see it unless I mess up really badly. Because it's pretty slow. But yeah, you're supposed to be like climbing upwards quickly to escape the lava. But yeah, we're pretty safe.
Yeah, the game wants you to panic, so you know we'll humor the game. Oh no, game! I'm panicking so much.
Even like the lava sound effect is gone. Like,
yeah,
it's just like too far up now. This bit's kind of annoying. I'm just be doing some dashes here. I want to collect as many of these potions as I can because it'll be coming really handy for the boss. Oh, jump upwards there. I want to get this potion here. It's a bit of a pain. The dashes do give you iframes as well. Yeah, quite nice. Okay.
Yeah, we don't have to worry too much about the pause loss from dying now, but it is still a time loss just because of the screen freeze and everything.
Yeah.
So still something you want to avoid if possible. Still something that like using the potions is still faster than like taking a death. As long as we have them.
We've got hit there. I dashed a little bit too early and my iframes ran out. Yeah, this boss is a bit of a pain. Bottomless pit. to get the hits in. Want to try and get as many dashes as possible. That's these little minions. Want to stay close to him. Try not to fall down the bottomless pit. Just waste time. Death is not too bad. It's not too costly. It's just time waster basically.
Yeah. So getting through phase 4 here, getting with the mid-air dashes.
Yeah, ideally you want to like
death,
dash
that's fine.
in mid-air, yeah, as much as possible, as I was saying.
Yeah.
The minions, go away.
And then we have the very final phase. 2 more dashes, there we go. And straight down the bottomless pit to end the fight and respawn and trigger the cutscenes to get back to the world map.
Yeah.
And now we're heading into the final level, the final boss.
Yeah, so we're going to face the evil monkey.
We have chased this monkey who stole our gem
We like
across
that gem.
hill and vale
That gem was
and
shiny.
through chocolate lakes.
Yeah, we've had a whole journey, a long journey.
The whole journey. The real journey was the friends we made along the way,
Yeah.
but the prize will be this gem.
Why did we go to space? I mean, he's just like in a castle.
Look, we took the scenic route, okay?
We might have a little bit of fun. Give me back my gem. I mean, did Magicat
Alright,
own
let's
the gem?
fight.
I don't know. I don't think Magicat even owned the gem. It was just kind of sitting there. I don't know.
Yeah, it was just sat there. We found it first though. Like that's basically as good as it being ours, right?
Yeah, finders keepers.
I mean, we're a cat. I don't think Magicat has a concept of possession. Because the boss here has a massive health bar. We got a lot of these blocks falling from the top of the screen. And as the phases go on, we're going to get more blocks. We're going to get spiked blocks. We're going to get all kinds of new obstacles that are going to require us to dodge the boxes and push them out of the way.
There's a
You
new.
can see we need to get into a space there. Yep, push it along.
There's a new thing in this one. Sorry, he has the blue outline in this one, which some of the bosses do. That basically means you have to jump on their head. I don't know why, but it means you have to jump on their head, and that removes the blue outline. Then you can hit them again. Sort of another little thing on top of the yellow outline. Crash him. Dash it in. Just bounce on top of him. Not get knocked off.
Alright. Phase 3 complete. 2 phases to go. Breaking that blue barrier, getting the dashes in. Another
Crash.
2 hits. It's very, very easy to get crushed on this fight as well.
I'm just trying to stay as close to him as possible, which inevitably means I'm going to get crushed.
Yep. So pushing the blocks out of the way there so that the next blocks don't spawn and fill in the gaps.
Dash.
And time is coming up, so we get the final hit. Time is going to be when Magicat explodes, and triggers the final animation. And time.
Yay. There you go.
Just over 24. Very nice.
Yeah, and then we've got a final cutscene, which is the resolution to our story. We've got our nice shiny gem back. Truly a wonderful gem.
Truly a wonderful gem.
What a long journey.
Yeah.
24 minutes to be exact.
Fire, kill the cannons!
This nice gem.
It's in my hand. I won't let it go again, no matter what.
And now suddenly he wants world domination.
And suddenly,
And now he's become the new demon
Yeah.
king, so...
yeah. I mean, you're a cat after all, so.
So yeah, everyone, welcome to your new overlord. It's Magicat.
I, for one, welcome our new cat overlord.
Yeah,
Absolutely. There are multiple endings to this game, and that is the bad ending. So
yeah.
play the game for yourself to get the other endings.
Yeah, you have to collect a bunch of stuff, and there's like a happy ending where everyone is like happily ever after. Yeah, we don't see that.
Well, I really enjoyed that. So before we go to our next game and, of course, our wellness break, CVK Mendez, if you want to plug your stuff, what you do on your streams, etc., please feel free to go ahead and please drop both of these wonderful folks a follow.
Thank you. Yes, I mainly run Sonic games, Knuckles, of course, or cat games, like indie games. You can find me at Cowboy Knuckles. Yeah, feel free to stop by and say hi. And Mendez, go ahead.
Yeah, I speedrun all kinds of things, really. Most recently, Tales Adventure. I mostly do Tales stuff, the Tales dedicated games. And I just ran Tales Adventure on Frost Vitalis, which is really cool. And yeah, other than that, I do like puzzles on stream. So yeah, come follow her for a chill time. Take care.
Yeah, follow Mendes. And thank you, Mendes, for being here with me as well, commentating.
A pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me.
And thank you, Frost Fatales, for having me.
Of course, and we do want to mention one other thing here. So again, if you did miss any of our Frame Fatale runs, check out youtube.com/GamesDoneQuick and check out the playlist for any runs you may have missed. If you enjoyed Mendez and CBK just now, be sure to check out the Tails Adventure run from Frost Fatale last week. And of course...
Oh yeah, CBK was my commentator on that.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Your subs, Prime Gaming subs, gift subs, and bits shared on the GDQ Twitch channel help support Games Done Quick Hotfix. Please consider subscribing if you enjoy the daily speedrunning content. SGDQ 2023 game submissions are open for 2 more days until March 7th. Go to GamesDoneQuick.com for more info. And again, please do check out, especially that Tails Adventure run again, CBK and Mendez. Both in that one as well too. So thank you all so much for being here. And we are not done yet with our GDQ broadcast. Lori Bunnykins will be up next with OneShot World Machine Edition, so please hydrate, stretch. We'll be right back with the Frost Fatale bonus stream. Welcome back to the Frost Fatale bonus stream. We are joined here by Lori Bunnykins, and this is OneShot World Machine Edition. Lori, would you like to tell us a little bit about the game?
All right, hello. So OneShot World Machine Edition is a remake of the 2016 version of OneShot, which there is another version, so I have to be careful which one I say it's a remake of. But essentially, it moves the game to consoles. Now, the game has some very flirtatious, I'll say, design choices with aspects of your computer. So for porting the game to consoles, as you see, I have this kind of like virtual desktop thing going on. And that makes the run really interesting because not only is I'm navigating basically a computer screen with a controller, but also it allows, as a viewer, it's a lot more kind of clear what's going on, I think. And it makes it a really good way to help show this game off in marathons, because I've done this game in marathons before, and I'm doing like so many things behind the scenes that you just don't see. But the run itself is still really fun, and we are gonna get into that. I have a little file explorer right here. This will come into play in like 5 minutes. But for now, I'm gonna go to full screen. And one big thing to know is that this game does have an in-game turbo button, so dialogue is gonna be really fast. But the time is gonna start when I click start right here, which is gonna be in 3, 2, 1, go. So, as of OneShot itself, what the actual game is about, it is a very story-driven game, but also a very big puzzle game. So I'm going to be doing a lot of different puzzles. A lot of it is kind of interaction with your environment in a way. So here I equipped this TV remote and then took it up to the window, so I had like the light. But then there's also another big thing you can do in order to do some of these puzzles is combining items. So, like, I'm going to go to this fridge, get this bottle of alcohol, and then dip the stick in the alcohol. And then I can light it on fire and light the fireplace to get the key. So, again, a lot of environmental puzzling, a little bit of item combination to get exactly what you need. But for the most part, the big part is knowing where items are and knowing how you get to them. Which brings me to the movement. The movement is going to become a lot more apparent when I get out of this opening tutorial house area. But there's something very interesting about the World Machine Edition of OneShot, where the original version of the games took place in RPG Maker. They were made in RPG Maker, so they were entirely grid-based movement. You know, you couldn't move diagonally. This game is not like that. You actually have not only diagonal movement, but a free 360-degree range of motion. So it makes the movement very different between this version and the PC version. The routes are still generally the same, so if you play one, you can pick up the other pretty easy. Which is, for context, if I ever say I've been running this game that's been out for 6 months for 6 years, that's what I mean. have been running the PC version. But now one of the first 3 big areas, and this character here, the Prophet Bot, is kind of where we get our first little bit of lore, and also just our goal for the game. Essentially, we need to bring this light bulb that we're holding to the top of the tower, because the light bulb acts as the sun of the world, and it's our job to restore it. This game, as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of it does a lot of funny things with your computer. So the game is going to close when I go to sleep here, and then it's going to reopen. The game definitely uses fourth wall. I guess the best way to describe it is it uses the fact that the fourth wall doesn't exist in order to do a lot of its character development. Because in the context of the game, there's a god of the world guiding Nico, and that is you, the player. So Nico can interact kind of directly with you, is what's happening in the dialogue. And it's a really fun way to actually develop the character and the world separately, because Nico is not like a part of this world. They were kind of like thrusted in from the outside. As I go to the eastern side of the map here, I'm going to be doing super fast travels. So this game doesn't have a fast travel system. I can fast travel the screens I've been to before. It's really great just to reduce backtracking. In some situations, the fast travel point on a screen is really far away, like this one. So it's actually faster to fast travel off the screen and then back on to get to that point faster. And that's called super fast traveling. This game is a lot of really small time saves that add up. For example, here, I interact with the right side of this gate because Silver's walking speed is slower than my running speed. And if I interact with the left side of it, she walks to the right, and that's an extra tile of her walking compared to me running. It's really small stuff like that, especially, again, when this game was originally an RPG Maker game. Those things were super important. With this, there's general movement all over the place, but there are still those small time saves. Because again, this game, it's entirely like an RPG puzzle. There's not going to be like any combat for me to do properly. There's not going to be any, things like that. It's going to be menuing. It's going to be solving the puzzle. It's going to be memorizing where I'm going. And it's a really good speed game for people who maybe struggle a little bit with memorizing routes or doing menuing in their speed games. Because this game, again, is pure just like kind of that sort of thing with not too much express like action. So I'd recommend picking it up if you're maybe not confident in your menuing. Or 10. This part is interesting. So on an actual computer, this notepad would show up in your real documents. So in this version, I kind of have to, as you saw, open it, and I'm like kind of trying to play in the background while getting to the code. It's very tricky because, again, I'm controlling the character blind. But opening that safe gets us a gas mask, which lets us access the northern end of the Barrens, and we are going to use that in order to help us get out. Essentially, I didn't talk to a character yet named the Robot, but I powered on the Barrens generator, and that made all the robots in the Barrens start, like, having power again. You can see them here. And the computer that gave us the safe code. So there is a robot on the docks that has a boat, and they can try and row us closer to the tower. However, the thing is, they currently do not remember how to get there. So we powered the robot back on, but we still can't, go to the next place we need to go. So we need to find a way to get to make them remember where to go. Also, I see a lot of people with some very emotional reactions to this game in chat, and I will say this is a very emotional game. I went through the kind of basics of the plot at the beginning, but this is a true ending run. I will try and stay minimal on story details throughout the first part of this run, but once I get to the second route for the true ending, I will be delving a lot more into the story. So that's your like early warning. If you want to play this game yourself, I'm not going to be spoiling for a little bit, but I eventually will like be talking about the story a lot. But now that we've cleaned off the robot, we're at the point where they powered back up and we've cleaned them off so they're not rusty and they can move. And now we're going to get this amber, because this amber will help them remember where they can go, and we can leave the Barrens, which is, again, the first of 3 major areas in the game, so already a pretty good start. We just need to equip the amber here, and okay, I'm a dock up. Oops. There we go. And that is going to be the end of the Barrens. So Barrens is usually considered the hardest part of the run, actually, so it's very happy that it's early on. So now we're going to head to the second area of the game, and my personal favorite, actually, which is the Glen. The Glen is, they do a lot of fishing here, which is always nice, but it's also just very pretty in general. This game is really pretty. I love pixel art. Shout out to pixel art. In specific, the main artist for this game is Night Margin, who you may have seen if you use Twitter and have played anything adjacent to this game before. She's a very good artist. So the first kind of quest we get here in the Glen is from Calamus, that bird we just talked to, whose sister is missing. So we have to go find her, because it's like, you know, nice thing to do. And that's going to bring us to the ruins. So this area is actually really interesting. Essentially, you can see this door that I just passed here. It has these, like, vines on it. Essentially, the islands of the Glen are kind of held together by this character down here. Who I'm walking to now still, but we are actually going to be giving up the sun for most of this area, so that this plant lady can relax in the sunlight. Which allows us to do a few things. First thing it does is it gets rid of a lot of the vines that are blocking doorways in this area, so that we can access more things. And also it frees up our hands. We're not holding a giant light bulb, and we can do some other things, which I'll get to in a moment. But for now, we have a puzzle to do. I used a computer back in the Barrens to get that randomized safe code in order to open the safe. The puzzle solutions that the computer gives you in the Glen and in the next area we're going to actually is not randomized, so I didn't really have a guide for this puzzle, but usually you talk to a computer in the ruins and it changes your like desktop background to the solution to that puzzle. And a little bit of funny trivia, if I were to go back to the computer now that I've solved the puzzle before talking to it, it would just get really confused. This game kind of does... I don't like to compare it to Undertale because the original version of the game actually came out first, but it does an Undertale-esque thing where it's like, it does keep data in weird spots of your computer to try and make resetting it harder. Or at least, like, fully reset it harder. Because you're kind of supposed to stay with the emotional impact of the characters. I'll, again, get way more into this in the parts of the run where I'm talking about the story, but for now, herding rams, it's just kind of like a Pokemon strength puzzle. I have to push them onto all the dark tiles. I push them one tile at a time. We actually get our first achievement here with the Ram Whisperer. If we do that puzzle first try, which it's not a random puzzle, so we should always be doing it first try. I believe we're going to be getting a few other achievements throughout the course of the run. I mentioned earlier this game's like fourth wall breaking sleeping sections where you see Nico's dreams and then talk to them about it. There's actually an achievement for never closing the game with the exception of those sleeping segments, so I'm going to be getting that. There's an achievement for starting the second story route, which, again, I believe, yeah, this is a true ending run. So I'm going to be doing that. I want to say that's all the achievements I'm getting, but I could be forgetting another one. But now that we've returned Alula to Calamus, the siblings are reunited. We are going to go get the sun back. And this is pretty much the end of the area. So with the ram trading, I traded in the wool to Magpie to get this sort of like dye that I can use as ink. And then I got a feather. The thing gating us from access to the third area of the game, the refuge at this point, is this robot that needs us to sign a scroll because it needs to keep track of all the names that have passed through the kind of barrier to the refuge. But they don't have a pen right now, so we need to find our own pen. Thankfully, with a feather and ink, that problem is solved. So I'm just going to craft this real quick, and when I go up to this robot, I just need to walk into this door. And we're good to go. And that's the end of the glen. So again, probably my favorite area of the game. Also, definitely the shortest. And I was moving my in-game cursor to see if I could grab something on the right side. I've not talked about that, actually. So there's actually a pretty big difference between true ending in this game and 100%. Even in the original version, like there were like Steam achievements for doing minor things. Like I got the Ram Whisperer one, as I mentioned. This game takes place on a virtual desktop, the console version, as I mentioned. So they actually added like dozens of like extra wallpapers you can get in game, and it adds so much depth to the 100% route of this category because you have to find so many just like weird collectibles. If you like this run, I would definitely recommend checking out 100% because there's just like, it's a very similar run, but there's also just like so much more going on at the same time. And, oh, I forgot to check that. Oops. So here, we're in the refuge now, but we're actually in the first half of the refuge, which is this upper part. Essentially, that elevator is broken. Well, the elevator itself isn't broken, but the button panel is. So we can't actually hit the button to activate the elevator, which is its own problem. Okay. Essentially, the button is magnetic, so it's not like we have to do, you know, hardcore electrician work, which is good because Nico is like a very small child who is not a licensed electrician. But we do have a plan. So first thing is I did the sleep cutscene early. Game only just requires you to do an area sleep cutscene at any point during it. There's no like Nico sleep timer that we're keeping track of. So I did just sleep twice within the span of 2 minutes, which is like, I wish I could do that in real life. Unfortunately, if I'm asleep for 2 minutes, I'm usually asleep still 2 minutes later. Let me know if you have any good sleep life hacks for sleeping 3 times at once. But we're going to get these fridge magnets, because fridge magnets are obviously industrial-grade elevator magnets. It's a video game. I'm not going to question it. I actually will do something fun here, just to show it off. If you make the coffee button with the scissors and then try and put it in now, you get this item called the You Tried. Because that's not the end of the puzzle. But I do like the You Tried. It's the thought that counts. The last thing we actually have to do for this puzzle is bring the magnetized button, or the You Tried, depending on if you have the You Tried or not, over to the office in the top right and tape the magnets to the button, because that makes the magnets strong enough to activate the elevator. Now we're going to have to enter another code here. However, unlike the other codes, this one actually is not randomized because this one is a reference. I mentioned earlier that there is a 2014 and a 2016 version of OneShot, and that this is a remake of the 2016 version. The elevator code here is 63014, 63014, which is in reference to the 2014 version of OneShot's original release date, June 30th, 2014. And that's going to be the end of the upper part of the refuge, but the lower part is like, this is where the fun really begins in the refuge. If you're playing on the PC version and you're doing standard any %, this is actually where the two versions of the game differ pretty wildly, because the PC version of the game has a bunch of major skips in the later part of the game, particularly around this area. But on the console versions, those don't exist, so you are going to be seeing the area done in its entirety, including a pretty infamous puzzle that I'll just say a lot of speedrunners of this game during the PC version, before this version of the game came out, were actually playing any % over glitchless. So there is a puzzle here that, like, even a lot of people that have been speedrunning this for years, when they played this version of the game, they got stumped on it for a few minutes. But before that, we have the library part. So basically, the idea here is that we need to talk to the head librarian, George, in order to figure out how to get into the tower, because the tower is where we need to put the sun, and the tower is in the middle of the refuge, so we're, like, basically there. However, we need to get the game to prompt the fact that we need a library card, so we need to go to the front desk and have the library bot say, hey, you need a library card. I can call George upstairs to make a library card for you. And then George doesn't pick up the phone. So you're like, okay, well, where is she? And the library bot's like, she's in the back. So you try and go to the back, and you have to go through the phone call again. It's pretty funny, but in the speedrun, it is just kind of like 30+ seconds of standing there. And then we can get to actually making the library card. We have our own methods of getting a library card. Don't worry about it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put these lenses that we got into this giant camera and take a picture of ourselves. You usually have to talk to the NPCs on this street in order to learn the lens layout of that camera, but it's the same every time, so we just kind of launch it. Now, what is random every time is this upcoming laser puzzle. Essentially, I have 10 tries to guess a random code. I'll explain it after. Okay, so 2. I'm going to flick all of these to blue. 1, 2. Okay, so there's no reds. This is 2. That's 3. Okay, so this is correct. So this means this is wrong. Is this 4? Yes, okay. So one of these is wrong. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so generally the strategy is we use 3 of our 10 attempts on just figuring out the number of colors. And then it's just from there. If you switch a color, it was wrong. If you switch a color and the number goes down, it was right. If it goes up, you now have it right. I don't really know how to describe how I do it, because, like, it's oddly deceptively simple to think about, but then doing it again, it stumps a lot of people. But now we have the head robot engineer Kip's library card. We have the picture of our face, and then we have glitter glue. So we glitter glue on the picture of our face to her library card, and it tricks the facial recognition, and we get to go into the back because it's our library card now. We'll definitely return it, don't worry. So now we're kind of getting into the end of the game. That was the last, like... Okay, well, I'm not going to say it was the last major puzzle section of the first route, but the last one is kind of very bunched up, I'd say, where this game's puzzle is, again, kind of very environmental. The last part isn't really. It's kind of more just like a big puzzle gauntlet. So, yeah, this was the last, like, kind of big puzzle area of the game. But we still have one more small gauntlet before the first credits. So we're going to go here. Basically, we gave George, the head librarian, this journal that we got forever ago. Back when we opened the safe in the Barrens, we got that journal. And it says, to get into the tower, we need to bring 3 pieces of yellow phosphor, which is, or 3 objects with yellow phosphor in it. Yellow phosphor is basically the, I mentioned we're trying to bring the replacement sun back to the top of the tower. The yellow phosphor is what was used to basically power the old sun. So we have that with the amber we got from Silver in the Barrens, the feather we got from Calamus and Alula in the Glen, and then George gave us a golden dice after translating the book for us. So those are the 3 pieces. And now we're in the tower, and this computer is going to say, hey, just go to sleep in this bed and you save the world. And then the computer's going to try and talk to us and say, hey, please don't go to the top of the tower. As I mentioned, I'm going to try and stay spoiler-free for the last section until the first credits. So I will talk about the story once the credits roll. There's still like a few more minutes of me doing puzzles. Before I reopen the game here, I have to open this Clover program you see in behind me, like this one. It's used for these last puzzles here. Essentially, the only item in my inventory right now is this Clover. And what I need to do is the shape of the notepad on the file I open keeps changing. And I have to interlay where the Clover cutout is on that, like, little image with the equipped Clover in the bottom right of my screen. I equipped it now just so you can kind of see it. I'd have to keep lining it up. But again, these puzzles aren't random, which means I'm just going to memorize them. This puzzle in particular is really funny to memorize because the method in which many speedrunners have memorized this is just counting the doors from left to right, basically. So the leftmost door is door 1, and then the rightmost door is just however many doors in the room there are. And then memorizing a 16-digit number is how to get through those door puzzles. And then these 4 grids are the same shape every time. So I just need to not mess them up. One of them is actually really tricky and complex, and is literally the last, like, puzzle in the run before the rest of the run is just cutscenes. So that's pretty funny. I'm going to try and do it without walking. I'm just going to try and do it at run speed, and I am doing pretty good so far. Uh-oh. There's a solution here. Hold on. Nailed it. Once you get into the inner ring of the light bulb, it's a much easier than the outer ring, because the outer ring not only has more diagonals, but it also has that weird bump at the bottom that you have to do correctly. And that bump is like where a lot of mistakes happen. The usual solution there is you run off, you do 2 of the 3 sections of the bump and then run off the bottom and then come back in on the left side of it. But I was a little bit too far up when trying to run along the bottom, and in order to fix that, I had to kind of improvise. So I mentioned that when the game ends and we start getting into the second route portion of the true ending is when I'm going to talk about spoilers. This elevator ride I'm in is maybe like 20 seconds of cutscene, and once this is over, my spoiler warning is gone. I'm just going to start talking. So if you want to play this game yourself, which I totally recommend, and you haven't yet, this is the part where I recommend. I hope you enjoyed the run. Game's pretty cheap. Please play it. I love this game to death. Thank you. For those that are sticking around, though, welcome to me saying a lot of words that I don't even think I know what I'm saying when I say them for the next half hour. This game is a story. It's not convoluted, I'd say, but there's kind of a lot going on, and there's a lot of different interpretations of it. So I'm going to try my best to explain it the way that I see it. If you have a different vision of it, or like notice a detail that I don't, that's really cool. And maybe I want to hear about it. I'm not going to guarantee that I want to hear about it, but I think it's really cool that game stories are like that. So, at the top of the tower, we are told, and we eventually tell Nico, that we cannot both return them home and return the sun to the top of the tower and save the world. To return Nico home, we have to shatter the sun, which will instantly destroy the world and return Nico home. It is 16 seconds faster to watch the Return the Sun credits, which is why this is the ending I picked. I'm waiting for one thing in the credits real quick, because, as I mentioned, this console version of the game has been out for 6 months now, and all I'll say is I'm waiting for it. I think it's the next one. I'll zoom in on the game. Oh, here it is. It's coming up next. Okay. This has not gotten any less exciting to see in 6 months. All right, now that I've squealed about that. So essentially the Clover program that I opened is the author, who in the lore is the person that created this world. I'm just going to delve right into second story spoilers before we even get to the gameplay there. Essentially, the world of OneShot takes place in the World Machine, which is like the author creating a virtual version of the world they lived in before it entirely collapsed. I told you this was gonna get weird. So essentially, Nico is brought back to help save the world as it crumbles again. Also, now that to get into the second route, now that this part is done here, the credits are done, I'm going to delete this save data in the OneShot folder and then restart the game. For those here at the very beginning of the run, you'll notice the controls tutorial isn't here. This means I am on the right path. This house is going, and there's two more achievements, the OneShot one I mentioned, and the return for starting the second route. So the computer password here is different. It's actually Solstice, which is the name of this route. I believe this game came out really late in 2016 on Steam, and I believe the Solstice update was supposed to come out on the winter solstice, but it got delayed, and they just kind of pushed it to the spring equinox, which is really funny. But that's why it's the solstice route is what this is called. So I'll kind of be referring to it both as solstice route and the true ending route going forward. But essentially the rest of this house is the exact same. So as mentioned by the computer, there was a little bit of a dialogue change there. I'm not supposed to be back here exactly, because the whole deal is to kind of put the world in a place where it's content by either picking to just destroy it and bring Nico home, or return the sun to save the world, but Nico's fate is unknown. However, the world isn't really content. I mentioned the World Machine being kind of a computer that's running this world virtually. It has sentience, and it's kind of really stressed out right now. Like, that's like actually it. Like, it has sentience, and it's also like really stressed out right now. It recognizes that both of the outcomes that were possible, the that I like just picked in the first ending, neither of them were really the best. We can do better than that. So it brings Nico back. I don't know why I picked that up. That's just expressly slower. So it brings Nico back to try and lure you back into you, the player, the god, back into playing again, to try and attain that best ending. Only issue is now we have knowledge at this point that Nico and just about every other character, including the world machine itself, like the knowledge of the world machine itself, we have knowledge of the world that nobody else does at this point. And that allows us to kind of go to some parts of the map that are not considered parts of Nico's journey. The first big example is right here. We still have the journal from the first playthrough. And it's going to light up when we interact with this ledge right here in the mines. When we take it to this clover on the ground and open the journal, it's going to spawn this minecart that's right here. And that is our first kind of bridge. Essentially, the ending of the game taught us about the author. The author and the entity, mainly. The entity was the thing in the computers giving me puzzle hints. And trying to get Nico to the top of the tower. It was kind of opposed. I'm not 100% sure. The entity is the least sure I am about this game's lore. So I'm taking all explanations possible there. But the author, again, is the person who wrote the world and did want us to achieve an ending, not necessarily for the sake of the world, but so that it could call us back in a more clean state. With this knowledge. And it's the journal that we have is the author's way of more expressly communicating with us in order to get us to these kind of, again, places that are not part of Nico's journey. This leads us to Prototype here, who is, as the name may imply, a prototype of the Prophet bot. We are going to complete this small puzzle here in order to load its memory disk with a backup file, so it remembers everything. And then I'm going to hold the turbo button for 2 minutes and admit that I do not know what anything in this cutscene means. I'll try my best. Essentially, Prototype and Prophet Bot are different in one major way. And that is, Prototype is what's called in-game tamed. And that's the term I'm gonna be using. For those people that know things about robotics and are thinking, hey, robots gaining sentience might be weird. Essentially, taming is a robot developing such a, intense connection that it starts to gain a sentience outside of its code. And Prototype is tamed due to its connection to the author. There are actually 3 characters with major connections to the author, one from each area that we're going to be meeting up with throughout the true ending. One of them we technically could have met in the refuge. There is a cutscene that I actually skipped using a super fast travel, where you get a flashback of that character, and then there is an optional area to the side in the back alley where you can very briefly see that character, and she says something along the lines of, "You're not supposed to be here yet," which is kind of a hint to this route existing. Is the fact that they just kind of leave that in the game, kind of not tied up at all. And ties up the fact that, hey, maybe there's more. Maybe you are supposed to see her again. Spoiler alert. We're going to see her again eventually on this route. So essentially, yeah. Prototype kind of has a little bit of extra sentience than most robots. This actually also applies to Silver, the pink-haired robot with us in the back, who is about to get collapsed on. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, this is also the world is in a lot more danger. Essentially, I mentioned we were kind of brought back from the author and the world machine to try and attain a more optimal ending. However, the way we're doing this is, again, bringing Nico to areas that are technically not part of their journey, like the deep mines that we're in right now. And that really stresses them out. And essentially, the squares that we're starting to see appear, as we're going to learn later on, are kind of gaps in memory or sort of corrupted data in the world machine. And because we're in areas where the world machine is unsure kind of what's going on, because this isn't part of Nico's journey, in an attempt to kind of save Nico from danger, it is corrupting a lot of data right now. And that's why there's a lot more natural disaster, a lot more squares taking over the world, and a lot more sad things going on. So we lose Prototype and Silver there. We do make it to the Glen, and we do have Prototype's memory disk that we backed up for them. So, not hopeless yet. Not looking great right now, but not horrible. I need to interact with that robot so that this robot will let me into the ruins. And then the Glen is still a pretty notable portion of the run, because we are going to meet. It's hard to say that one of the three characters with relation to the creator, or the author rather, is one of the most important. But we are going to meet one of the most important characters story-wise in this game in about a minute from now. I guess I can touch up a little bit more on Prototype's giant cutscene from earlier. So essentially, Nico initially gets mad at us for allowing this to happen, which is where Prototype kind of tells us more about the world machine, because at this point we know what the entity is, and we know that if there's a little subset of it with the world machine, we know they're kind of related to a bigger thing called the world machine, but we don't really know what the world machine is at this point. And Prototype is one of the first characters to really clue us in on that. Essentially, we, the god, the player, yes, we're a god, but we have very little control over the events of this game. Our job is ultimately to guide Nico through what has already been predetermined. So, we're not really... I don't want to say we're not really making decisions throughout the course of the game, but it's a very, characterization moment, because Nico's kind of mad at us, and then we're like, hey, we're scared too. Please don't be mad at us. And it's a lot more complex than that, but my brain is short-circuiting. So this is Cedric. Cedric is the son of the author, just directly. So, not in the right place. So, he is kind of the most prepared. He has an airplane, which is crazy technology in this world. It's kind of still crazy now if you think about it. we put like giant pieces of metal in the air. That's impressive. That was the airplanes. So either way, getting back on track, we need to help Cedric repair the airplane because, as you may have noticed, when I went up to the gate to check on that giant robot that is currently in the middle of like code exploding, I guess you could call it. We can't really use that gate to get into the city anymore, so we're going to use Cedric's plane. But again, we have to repair it. So we have the plant lady from earlier maze extend her vines a little bit more so that we can use them as a bridge to the other side of the glen, which is currently experiencing like massive floods. It's bad. But it's okay, we'll fix it eventually. Surely. So the big thing here is just getting the two things we need. We need a battery and some gears. First thing I'm going to get is the battery. And this is actually one of my favorite Easter eggs in the game. So just like in the very beginning of the run, in the first route of the Barrens, when we had to make a battery to turn on a generator, we're going to be taking this battery out of a generator, which will unpower all the robots. It's actually possible to remake the Baron's battery before coming here, and then you don't have to turn off the robot generator in the Glen, which is debatably more morally correct, but it's slower. So, thank goodness this doesn't weigh on my conscience or anything. Other thing we get is we pick up a music box because it has gears in it. From the trader, Magpie, who we gave the wool we got from ram herding on the first route. He's a little antsy. He's like, I don't want to give up stuff for free, but also we're the savior of the world, and the world's ending. So they're like, yeah, please just take the music box. So Cedric is saying a lot of words here. Again, this is kind of like Prototype, where there's a lot of words going on right now. But essentially, the big thing he tells us is that we want to go to the refuge, not just because the tower is there, but because that's actually where the world machine is hosted. There's a hidden lab in the refuge for those with connections to the author to have more direct access to the world machine in case anything happens. And considering all the natural disasters, something's happening. So we make it to the refuge, and Cedric is like, yeah, I'm going to go fly back to the Glen and get Calamus and Alula so they don't get stranded on the island of squares and die. Uh-oh. Bad news. So, Cedric needs to... We give Cedric the memory disk here. Cedric is going to try and find an alternate body for Prototype. And it's going to be our job to find the third of the author's kind of trio in the refuge. So we're up here again. You know, we're up on the upper refuge. And this elevator is a lot more broken than it was last time. So we need to go find a replacement. And this leads us towards the office, which was very underutilized in the main route. There's a lot of optional cutscenes here. Actually, there's a pretty major one, but in terms of actually being used, it's not really. There's this giant office, or there's this giant weird door. It's a weird door. You can't open it during your first playthrough, but we can now. So we go in here. Also, fun fact, the clock on top is, I think, in GMT, and it's just what day it is, but it doesn't have, it doesn't have like a month indicator on it, so it just kind of counts up days with a number. Either way, moving on. There's a few backup elevators in that this little area behind the office. So we are going to bring the lamplighter to one of them, because we can maybe open it with this like giant pole. so we can use the elevator. It's nice. We don't have another cutscene where we're awkwardly standing there chatting in an elevator with someone we don't know, thankfully. But after Lamplighter's like, hey, I'm gonna go get all the people in the upper refuge to go take this elevator, the elevator gets owned. So we're gonna go and just not save him. We can't really do anything at this point. So we see Cedric running into the lab to try and find a robot body for prototype. And Kip is going to see us and be like, hey, it's not safe. Because it's not. It's really not safe to be anywhere right now. The library is maybe one of the only safe places in the entire place. And we are there now. We get another George face. I've not mentioned this during the run, but George is a dice with 6 faces. And every time you play through this game, you do actually, like, when you meet George, the game rolls 1 through 6 to, like, decide what George personality you get. Which is pretty cool, but not too relevant in the speedrun. It used to matter a lot more for dialogue before we had the turbo button. The turbo button that I'm using is actually something that was only added to the PC version in, like, 2019. But with it now, I mean, it kind of balances out. A lot of the time loss is mitigated because your mashing is a lot faster regardless. So the time loss from the slower George numbers is less severe. But also, there's just no more text-based time loss in the game really at all. So that one's all the more major because it's like one of the only text-based time losses in the run now. Words. So we pick up Rue here, who's the character I referenced earlier, who I skipped their like little flashback cutscene that usually shows up in First Route by fast traveling through the back alley. And we're going to bring her back up the other elevator to the sort of back office here. And she's going to be like, okay, so all the elevators are shot. Cedric was going into a collapsing building to find a robot body for someone who's currently literally just a disc. I don't think we can do anything at this point. I think the world's kind of owned, maybe. So we're going to have a nice little relaxing chat. You know, well, the world's ending, as you do. And she says some words that would maybe really help my understanding of the story if I read them. She talks a lot about the world machine. Again, why the author built it. His world was fading and he wanted to preserve it. And is like, hey, we want to fix that. So when in this room we get this folder called portals. I'm going to open a big portal here and then open these small portals here. Essentially what I need to do here is I'm going to move all the characters into this area here. And then these keys are going to show up in the portals. I need to move each key pertaining to each character into the big portal. And that will allow this door to appear, which lets me into the author's study, which is where the world machine is. So at this point, that was kind of the last, like, puzzle. So I have 5 more minutes to try and make the story of this game make sense. Let's see how I do. So I'm going to close the game here again. It's an entrance similar to the tower. Also, there's a place like way earlier in the game that reset my wallpaper. I can change it back. So it's nice and pretty again. So now we're in the world machine, which again is a simulation. So the world machine is the machine built by the author that was meant to be a simulation, that was meant to not be the simulation, but host the simulation of the world that he was trying to rebuild. However, due to his connection to the world, or to the machine he was building because of how much this means to him, the world machine is tamed, which means that the giant supercomputer currently hosting literally the world right now, sentience, and is very stressed out right now because the world was starting to end, and that's why Nico's here to help us stop it. Essentially, as I mentioned earlier, the squares that we've been seeing throughout the whole game are sort of corrupted data by the world machine. And the world machine has been corrupting a lot of data throughout this playthrough because we've been going kind of, again, out of the bounds of what's intended to be Nico's journey. And the world machine just kind of thinks everything is a threat to Nico. So we give them the best pep talk a small child has ever given, and it works. That's a very abridged way of putting it. But essentially, we kind of get through to the world machine. We're like, hey, you can fix this. Again, I don't know how else to put it other than the pep talk method. We give it the world's best pep talk an 8-year-old can, and the world is fixed. We have this credits, which is supposed to be kind of the world machine's way of letting Nico see everybody one last time. Because at this point, we're going to be getting the best ending, the true ending. We are going to both be saving this world and returning Nico home simultaneously. So, at this point, the world's kind of not... I don't know how to put this. It's almost not relevant to the player anymore, because we've achieved every, good outcome that was sent to us. Essentially, the author's recreation of the world that was running on the world machine is the instance of the game. So, the data... No, that's not the right word to use. So essentially, the kind of state of the world is us downloading the world onto our computer, that world being the game and its files, in order to try and use your computer as a host machine to get access to the world machine so that you could save the world. And now that we've done that, I don't know, the world's just gonna kind of sit on our computer now. Or in this case, my Switch, but you get the point. But now Nico's gonna return home, so time is gonna be when I say goodbye, Nico, which is a dialogue option coming up in 5 seconds. I probably should have been more forward about that time. It's actually right now. Yeah, I probably should have been more ready for that, my bad. But that is the true ending of OneShot World Machine Edition. Nico walks off out of the window, off the bottom of the screen, which actually does happen in the original PC version. I played this in full screen a lot to try and make the game feed bigger, but on every version of this game, it actually recommends you play in windowed, which is something I'll bring up now, I guess, now that the game is over. But yeah, that's OneShot. It's got a really good emotional core. I'm not crying right now because I've gone through this emotional core hundreds of times. I do want to give a shout out to the OneShot community. This game, again, it's been a very... Like a lot of cult indie games like this, it's been a very small but dedicated group of people for literal years now. And very tight-knit. I'm friends with almost every single one of them. We're all friends with each other, and we all just, love this game and have wanted to play it. We played this, 30-minute indie game from 2016 just because we like it that much. And that's just, awesome. Speedrunning is so cool. So big shout-outs there. Big shout-outs to all of my friends that have played OneShot because of me. I'm not apologizing for your emotional state. It was worth it. And one last shout-out to the devs, Night Margin and Gur, because as I kind of gave a small shout-outs to during the credits, and might be in another credit somewhere. If I look through some of the docs here, I'd have to find the credit stock, but essentially I was actually granted the honor of helping with play testing this version of the game, the console versions. And that was really cool. So big shout out to there. I don't actually think I'm in this document, but again, thank you so much to kind of just anyone I've met surrounding this game. Oh, there I am. Yeah, thank you to everyone I've really met surrounding this game. This is one of my favorite games ever, and all the communities I've been in have just only made me love it more in the past, like, again, 6 years. So thank you for letting me run this. I'll stop talking before I spend an entire run's worth talking about the game again.
Well, I want to say, Lori, thank you so much for just everything, for the gameplay, for the insightful commentary. There's a lot to be learned here. This is a really deep game and story, so thank you for sharing that with us.
No problem. Again, one last thing if I can say. As I mentioned very early in the run, if you're getting into speedrunning and you like high-action games, but you're like, I'm really bad at like menuing and quick thinking and really small movement, this is a great game for that. Please absolutely pick it up if you just need, help in some of those few categories. It's really simple to learn, and it teaches you some really good skills for other games that you might not realize are really good skills in that game.
And I will give one last shout out to Lori here. Please be sure, and we've posted it here, give Lori a follow at twitch.tv/Lori D. Bonykins. Thank you so much again, Lori. We really appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
All right, real quick before the end here, folks, remember that SGDQ is coming up May 28th through June 4th in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Go to GamesDoneQuick.com for more info. And if you want to follow what Games Done Quick is up to, use ! links in Twitch chat for all things GDQ. As a reminder again, Fatales may be over, but we have an entire gambit of GDQ Hotfix shows, and we would love to see you back this week. I know I will be back for Random Number Generation on Tuesday and Mercy Kill on Wednesday, but again, programming daily, so please be sure to stay tuned, folks. But that is going to be it for our broadcast tonight, so thank you all so much. Thank you for your support for Frost Fatale, and we look forward to seeing you later this week on GDQ Hotfix. Take care, and good night, everyone.